Good morning, everybody. This is a continuation to the previous project that we were been working on, which is basically similar to a game or a screensaver. In this lecture today, we will do two things. One of them is to create a menu to control the game, and another one is to create many objects, not just only 3 objects or 3 balloons all the time. We will start with the menu first, and then after we do the menu, we will do the array of objects, basically, which is allow us to create multiple things on the screen. All right, so if we open the two things, if we open the form, if you go to the Solution Explorer and open Form 1, and in Form 1, we have and the tool menu on the toolbox. Let me pin this so you can see it, and then let me make this so you can see it here. Okay, so here's my form. We already have a timer on it, but I want to add a menu. What is a menu? If you notice, this is your application. This is Visual Studio, and notice these things are menu, and when you click on it, you have menu items inside of it. And in addition to that, you have Toolbar that you can add to your application. In Visual Studio, we have controls that allow you to do that. So here, we usually click on all windows and forms, so you have all these controls. But it might be easier if just to minimize it or collapse it, and then just go to a group that is called Menus and Toolbar. If we click on that, we have different options. The one that I'm interested in mainly is called Menu Strip. And if you're interested in toolbars, you can put Toolbar Strip or Tool Strip. We'll start with the Menu Strip, and then I'll explain the others. So if I drag and drop this on my form, I get on top of my form a menu. This that you see here, this is the whole thing is my menu strip. This thing that you see here is called menu context menu strip. That means you can have multiple things in it. What we want to do, we want to have 2 menu strip. One of them is called File with 2 options, which is called Exit and Settings. The other one, Control, which has many options. One of them is to start the game, stop, make it faster, or make it slower. So to add a menu, this is the title of my menu, File. Underneath it, inside of it, I have 2 things. One of them is called Settings, and one of them is called Exit. For the setting, we will not do it today, but we'll do it in the next lecture. For the exit, it's pretty easy and straightforward. And the next menu is called Controls or Control. In here, I will put 2 things. One of them is, or a few things. One of them is Stop or Start first. One of them is Stop. One of them is called Faster. One of them is called Slower. All right. Now, how do I enter control, or how do I enter code to do action when the user hit the settings or when they hit the exit? Same thing that you do when you have a button. So you select the file, you double click on exit. Now you are in the code that relates to that menu option. Okay, so it's exit, tool, strip, menu item, click. Notice what was the title that we had? Exit. So the name of that control is called exit. So the name of this is exit, tool, strip, menu item. What do I do when I exit? I can do what? Application dot exit and that would exit my application. Another way you exit your application, you type in environment, again dot exit, and then here you give it a code. You give it 0, that means everything is terminated properly, no error. Or you can give it numbers like -1 or things like that, means that the application terminated abnormally. All right? But since you know this one already, we'll just use that one. Okay? And we comment the other one, but it's there if you want to see it. Now let's go ahead and run the application, see what happens. When I click on File and I hit an exit, the application stops. Okay, so that's how we do action based on menu options. Okay, let me pause a little bit. Now, what we want to do, we want to do the other controls. For preferences or settings, I'm going to leave it to next lecture. But we want to be able to do what? We want to do, when the application first starts, it's not, when we run the application first time, the application is not running. The screen, nothing is running on the screen. But when we click on Start, we want things to start working, things start moving on the screen. All right? Type. Let's look at our form. What makes your application start and these things moving on the screen? The timer. Saholala, right? So if you click on the timer and look at the property of that timer, when we first start, it's what? It's enabled. Yes? Type. Enabled means that it's working. Type. If I want the screensaver or the game to start or stop, what do I do with this timer? I either enable it or disable it, depending on what I want. So when we start, we'll start with what? We'll start with false. So nothing is running on the screen. Type. Now, let's take a look at start and stop. Now, you cannot have start and stop active at the same time. Yani, when the game is stopped, you should have start enabled. When the game is starting, you should have the start disabled. Sahwalala. Alright? Now, let's take a look at these things. These are the same as a button, as any control. They have properties, and then you can enable them, disable them, you can change the name, change the text, all of this. So let's take a look at start. When the application first starts, it's not running, right? So we want to make sure this one is enabled, start. But if we look at stop and look at the property, we should make it at least what? Enable equal false. Why? It's gray out now. So when you run it, you cannot click on stop because the game is not starting, right? When do you enable this stop? When you click on start. Then you disable the start and enable stop. All right? If we go look at the property names for these guys, if you look at the property, this is start. What's the name of this guy? Start, tool, strip, menu, item. What is this one? Again, stop, tool, strip, menu, item. So I can reference these controls in my program. Let's start with the start. If I double click on start, what should I do in the start? I should enable my timer. So what do I say? I say timer 1 dot enable equal true. What else should I do? I should disable the start menu strip and enable the stop menu strip, right? Item. So I say start menu strip tool strip menu item dot enabled equal to what? Equal to false, because the game already started. And then I say stop menu tool strip menu item dot enable equal to what? Equal true. So I disable one, enable the other. then we need to do the same thing for, or the opposite, for the other option, اللي هو stop. So I go back to the design and double click on the stop. I do the same thing but the opposite. So I say control copy, control V, and then we do here false for the timer, and this becomes true, and this becomes false. All right, now let's go ahead and run it and test it. When I click on, when the game first starts, you see it's not starting. But when I click on start, the game starts. And watch what happens here. Stop is enabled and start is disabled. When I click on that, the game pauses and the menu option are reversed. Now I click on start, it starts again. Is that clear? All right. One thing that we have here, these balloons, once they are out of the screen, they're not coming back. So what I want to do, I want to bring them back when they're out of the screen, so they come back on the screen. All right. How do we do this, and where do we do that? Let's continue with that. We'll do this the next part. But how do we? Now we need to finish the faster and what? The slower. So when we go to the form design, we double click on faster. What controls the speed of your object? Two things. The speed in the object, like we remember when we created the ball, we specified the speed. The other one is the timer interval, right? So we can play with the timer interval if we want to make things fast in the whole game. Okay? So how do we do this? We go to double click on faster, for example, and then if you notice in the timer property in the interval we have 50 right now, right? If we wanted to make it faster, what do we do with this interval? We decrease it. We make it slower, less. If we want to make it faster, we increase the value. I'm sorry, if we want to make it slower, we increase the value. So this is what we have to deal with. So if I go back to my form, design faster, this is where we at, right? You go to the form, click in here and double click on faster. This is where we at. What do? I need to subtract a value from the current interval time. So if I say timer dot interval minus equal 20. What does that mean? It means subtract 20 from timer interval right now. Yeah? Subtract 20 from timer interval. But we will have a problem. The problem is that right now it's 50. The first time you click on it, it becomes 30. The next time you click on it, becomes 10. The next time you click on it, becomes minus 10. And minus 10 is what? A problem, right? You can't have negative number for the interval, right? And your program will crash. So we want to prevent that from happening. So what do? We only subtract if the interval is greater than 10. We don't go below 10. So we'll add an if statement in here that says if timer 1 dot interval, if it's greater than 10, then we do this. Otherwise, we don't do it. You got the idea? Of course, you can put the curly bracket if you like the curly bracket, but you don't have to put the curly bracket because it's only one statement. If you have multiple statements, you need the curly bracket. So that is for what? To make it faster. To make it slower, what do? We, instead of minus, we do plus. So we go back to the form, double click on slower. Now I can just take this, control copy, control V, and here instead of minus, I do plus. Do I need to worry about the upper limit?
No.
I don't need. So what? If you want to make it 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds, just keep adding to it, no problem. Okay? Now, let's go ahead and run it. When I click on start, it starts. When I click on faster, things become faster. When I click on faster one more time, things are much faster. If I want to slow them down, I do slower, 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 and they become basically very, very slow. You got the idea? Everybody okay? All right. We'll do one more thing, because the balloons, once they disappear out of the screen, they're not appearing again. We want them to appear again, but not in the same spot. We want them to appear in a different locations in the form. So what do? We go to remember we had the balloon and then we have the ball, right? We go to the balloon class. In the balloon class, we have the method that is called what? Update, right? So what do we do here? We check if y is less than 0, means what? What happened to the balloon? The balloon is out of the window, right? But not only y, it's y plus the line plus, because the balloon we're drawing the upper left corner. We want to take in consideration the balloon size plus the length of the line, which is this. Do you see that? Y plus 80 is the end point, okay? When we're drawing the line, okay? So we can take this in consideration just to make sure that it is outside the screen and it comes back out slowly. So what do you do in here? You say if y is less than 0, no, not only y plus less than 0, we say if y plus 80, or plus size. Do we have size here? We didn't do the size. We kept it as a fixed size, right? Yeah. Anyway, we kept it as a fixed size. Anyway, that's all right. If y plus 40 plus 80, which is the line, okay, let's just say 120, is less than 0, okay, it means it got out of the screen, less than 0. What do? We say y equal some high value, which is what? The width or the height of the screen plus another value, okay? So we'll say this dot height that's for the height, okay? So we say this y equal this. No, we don't have this. We have width, right? We have height and width, which are these here, right? So we say this equal height plus some value, which is, I'm going to say, let's say 200, which is more than what we need, okay? All right, so that's for the y. How about the x? We want the x to be, we don't want the balloon to come up from the same spot all the time. We want it to come up from a different location, so it appears like there's balloons always coming out of the screen, okay? So what do we say? We say x equal, we need to define a random again here. We say random r equal new random, and we say x equal r dot next, and then we give it the width. So it's anywhere between the width okay. So when do we do this? We do this only if the balloons are out of the screen. Okay? Yani, when the balloon is out of the screen, then we get another position. We get different position for y. We get a different. We say y is beyond the form, height of the form plus some value, and we create a random position for x so it appears from different location. Now, if we run it, you'll notice that you have, when we click on start. Now, when this comes out of the screen, watch. If I do, let's make it faster so you can see. Okay. Notice now they will come from a different location. Notice? Yeah? Again, now watch. They come from a different location. Okay? Alright. There is one of you guys had a problem, and the reason you have problem, look, watch. The reason you have problem, these two has to be part of the if statement. If they're not part of the if statement, they will flash on top of the screen. Okay? Alright, so we're done with the first part. Okay? Then we will do the next part after this. Okay?